As climbers, we have an ethical responsibility to work together to take care of our shared resources, namely the places where we love to climb. And this could mean a city park or a national park wilderness area like Joshua Tree. These public spaces are not solely our responsibility, but as one of the main user groups of a place like Joshua Tree, we do have a lot of responsibility to take care of the place. And also, in order to maintain access to this place, we need to be good stewards of the place. Climbing in a national park isn't a right, it is a privilege. The Park Service could forbid climbing, placing bolts or replacing old bolts. Because I love this place, and also because I love climbing, I have a real need to be a good steward of this place. There is an existing framework. The Leave No Trace organization has put a lot of research into guidelines that we should try to follow in different types of environment. You can think about deserts and canyons and mountains and other environments as having different sets of guidelines that we should try to follow. Here in the desert, the main issues with human impact have to do with vegetation and trail formation. The desert soils are fragile and form crusts. Microorganisms and detritus bind together to form a crust on the surface of the soil, which actually helps hold in moisture, and then plants can get established there. And this whole area, barren though it looks right now in midwinter, will be covered with soft green grasses and flowers, just a carpet of flowers in spring. In places where people have walked and broken the soil crust, you'll see a lot less of that spring bloom. The soil drops because people have trampled the soil crust and the vegetation has died at the base of popular crags in Joshua Tree. This lowering of the soil surface level can be measured in some places in feet. We're really making a bigger impact than you might think simply by going places. The Park Service here in Joshua Tree works really hard to maintain and clearly mark a set of climber access trails. I mean, they're really trying to help us out. They're marking trails to the popular climbing areas. And so we really need to help them out and not just cut across the desert and carve a new track through the soil crusts. I would say the other two main issues here in Joshua Tree are just litter, micro trash, like little bits of athletic tape and cigarette butts and stuff like that that you see at the base of a crag. And then noise, impact on other users. If there's nobody around and you want to rock out while you're climbing, I think that's just a question of style. I think it becomes an ethical question when another group of climbers rolls up and now it's like, well, I don't know, maybe they don't want your music as the soundtrack to their day. Now it's more of an ethical issue. Maybe you should ask them, hey, is the music bothering you? Turn it down or turn it off. I spend my summers in the High Sierra, which is a different environment. I would say the main concern in the High Sierra is what are you doing with your human waste? Here in Joshua Tree, there are pit toilets most places. In the High Sierra, when you're hiking all day to get to some awesome route on a big peak and spending nights out in the wilderness in order to do it, in many cases, you're gonna be digging holes and pooping out there. And so you need to have the basic tools and knowledge, which I'll talk about in a separate video. You need to be packing out your toilet paper. You need to be digging a deep enough hole, far enough from sources of drinking water. And in some cases, you need to carry a wag bag and actually pack your solid waste out. And I would say the other major issue in the High Sierra is vegetation and foot traffic. In general, alpine vegetation has a very short growing season. The soils are thin and soft, very fragile. So just a few people walking through an alpine meadow, especially right after snowmelt when it's really soft, will compact the roots of those plants. You'll get a strip of vegetation that dies right where climbers have walked across that meadow. We really need to try to stick to durable surfaces like rock and snow. Definitely don't go pitching your tent on soft vegetation because you'll pack it down and it'll die, and that'll be a bare spot for years and years. Just in general, as climbers, we want to maintain access to these places, and I hope that, like me, you want to maintain the beauty of these places, so we need to be really good stewards of the land, read up on area-specific Leave No Trace practices, and just be model users of these places that we're so lucky to have access to.